Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Development Permit Panel. Today on the panel, you have Cecilia Shem, General Manager of Community Safety, Marie Fenwick, Director of Arts, Culture and Heritage, and I am Wayne Craig, General Manager of Planning and Development. The panel deals with form and character, things such as architecture, landscaping, lighting, access points to the site, etc. The panel does not deal with land use matters that are established through the rezoning process, such as use or density, as they are dealt with through the rezoning application. In terms of the agenda today, we have 3 items on the agenda. The order of business would be a presentation from the applicant, followed by staff comments, any comments from members of the public. Public correspondence would be read into the record, and then there would be panel deliberation. Once should a project be endorsed today, it would proceed to council for consideration once the conditions of the application have been fulfilled. With that, I'll turn our attention to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is... Oh, thank you. Thank you, Cecilia. First item of business is a motion to adopt the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on April 24th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Call the vote. Minutes are adopted. First item on the agenda is Development Permit number 21-945917. The applicant is Arno Mattis Architecture. The project location is 6851 and 6871 Elmbridge Way. The development permit is to permit the construction of 376 residential units, hotel and accompanying commercial uses in a high-rise mixed-use development containing 3 15-story towers at 6851 and 6871 Elmbridge Way on a site zoned high-density mixed-use ZMU 52, Oval Village City Center. There are also 2 variances associated with the application: reduction to the minimum road setback along River Road from 3 meters to 0.25 meters to allow projections on a small portion of the development's podium, levels 3 to 6, for components of the building and residential balconies. And the second variance is to not require any large size loading vehicle spaces on the proposed development. Is the applicant present?
Yes, good afternoon. It's Arno Mattis.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, panel. It's Arno Mattis here. Can everyone hear me fine? Are we okay to share screen at this point?
Yes.
We are? Okay. We have I'll try to make it brief presentation. And then we'll have time for questions. We have members from our project team here today, the owners, Landa. We have a traffic consultant, landscape, and members from Arcadis as well, present to answer any questions. So project is at 6851 Elmbridge Way. We've gone through an extensive process for the rezoning at this point, and this is now at the development permit application stage. Site area is just under 150,000 square feet, 3 towers to maximum of 47 meters. Gross floor area is at the maximum of actually just under 3.1 at 3.05, with a gross floor area of just over 780,000 square feet. Some of the key kind of features and benefits of the project: there's a pretty significant cash contribution that comes with this project. As a result of the rezoning, there are 35 affordable housing units, 36 BUH units, and some hearing impaired units in the hotel component. There's also 52 parking spaces that are available for the use of the overflow of Olympic Oval parking. There are significant outdoor spaces at grade and at all four corners of the site. There's a new road that comes with this project, which we're calling, for lack of a better name today, a Northwest Connector Road, but hopefully we'll get a street name at some point. A new hotel with 200, just over 200 units. And we're connected to the district energy system at the Olympic Oval, in the Olympic Oval neighborhood. This project seeks to kind of take and evolve some of the architectural language that was developed at Cascade City, which is a project we also did with Landa and completed a couple of years ago. It's kind of a architectural language that's unique to the city of Richmond. And we've sort of taken the inspiration of the landscape in Richmond and tried to bring that in and allow that to kind of influence the architectural forms. For this project in particular, we were looking at some of the tidal flats and some of the smoothness and softness in some of the landscape that we find so familiar in Richmond. And here at the bottom right-hand corner, you can kind of begin to see a kind of a massing profile that begins to kind of take those ripples or those waves and adapt them into an architectural form. There's already been a mention of 3 towers on the site. Those towers have to be placed in a very specific placement and configuration on the site because of the existing conditions just to the east of this site. There are also already 3 towers just to the east of the site that limit tower placement. So on the diagram on the right here, you can sort of see 3 towers. They're sort of a boomerang shape. The first tower has a H on it. That's our hotel tower. It's sort of placed in the kind of northeast corner of the site. And then there's 2 residential towers that are sort of positioned to the west of the site that portions of them actually come down and have access to grade through lobby entrances and courtyard plaza spaces. These towers have also been placed to try to minimize impact to the future development potential of the site to the west of us, as well as limiting overlook and view impacts to the existing Aura towers. And we'll talk a little bit more about the kind of unique shape. They're a little bit longer and narrower than your typical kind of tower plate in Richmond. We sort of derived this form through work that we did when we did the Cascade City project. And what's interesting about this is that the thinner floor plates actually allow for shallower units, which are a little bit more functional, have a little more access to daylight because they have a bit more perimeter access. But from most of the viewpoints around the site, you only ever get to see one face of the tower. So it actually, even though it's a longer kind of form, it actually appears as if it's no bigger than the typical kind of point tower form in the city of Richmond. A lot of work has been done with planning around the issue of shadowing, obviously with the limited locations of where these towers could be placed. We've worked very hard to try to push these towers back and sculpt them. In addition, you'll see this north tower actually has a notch taken out of it. All of that is to reduce and basically diminish any shadowing that might occur on the Olympic Oval Plaza. during event days. So that's a pretty significant amount of modeling was done to try to reduce any shadowing impact to the oval plaza areas. Again, as a highlight, 35 affordable units, 22 family units, a total of 341 market units, and about 38 BUH units. Hotel is 214. Parking stalls, I think we're at 680 total, and there's an additional bike parking stalls that have been provided as a result of TDM measures. There's been a significant amount of work done by Paul or by Bunt in terms of TDM and parking reductions, overall parking reductions. We think we're pretty close to the minimum amount of car stalls, and we've, as a result, we've added a significant amount of bicycle parking on site. The program breaks down into a mixed use of commercial, hotel, and residential uses. We'll go through that in some other diagrams, but first I'd like to take everyone just around the site quickly. On the north end of the site, we actually have what we call three kind of courtyard zones. There's a rather large plaza here, which we're calling the Legacy Plaza or Winter Sports Plaza. It's one of the largest plazas on site. And on specific community days, this entire frontage, in fact, the entire perimeter of the ground floor is available for public access. But in this particular corner, we felt that it made sense because it was directly across from the entrance to the Olympic Oval that this be the largest open space. There's a smaller mid-block area here called the Light Plaza, and then in front of the hotel tower is Light Plaza, and next to the cafe restaurant is the Light Plaza. So these three kind of outdoor spaces make up this kind of continuum of a frontage. And there's some unique geometry that starts to find its way in here at grade, and you can also see some of the banding that's starting to come through from the oval site. This is intentional to try to unify this street frontage into more of an urban room. And I think when we were in our early days and kind of looking at the concept for this, I think the city of Richmond would very much like to be able to close the street off on unique festival and kind of community days where this whole kind of space in front of the oval and the frontage along our north edge and River Road become one large urban room. On the south edge, we have a kind of a smaller plaza that is more intensely landscaped. At the southwest corner, we have kind of a mid-block plaza that has some articulation that works with the CRU frontage. And we have another little plaza at the lane here, which actually gets a fair amount of sun. So all of these kind of perimeter spaces work together to kind of activate the edges. The corners are where all the main entrances are, and we'll go through that when we look at some of the planning. But all of the main entrances are actually off of the corners, and then all of the mid-block zones have commercial frontage along them, so that all this edge almost entirely activated, and even around and wrapping into the lane from the north and from the south. So here we have some quick renderings, just looking at the Northwest Plaza, the larger one, and the Olympic Oval in the background, with the main entrance to the North Tower here off this plaza. The mid-block zone where we're contemplating some restaurant and cafe uses, so the possibility of spilling out into these kind of edges and along the north mid-block zone. The northeast corner is where the main hotel expression finds its way down into the podium. So there's a kind of a frame here and an expression of a hotel entrance. This is mainly a pedestrian entrance. This is not a drop-off area, but pedestrian access to the hotel lobby. Southwest corner, more landscaped, more treed, residential entrance in the background. Mid-block is more kind of commercial activated uses. And then the plaza into the lane here at the southeast corner of the site. Another view from grade. Just some quick orientation for vehicle access. There's actually 2 access points to the parking system, which is actually in the middle of the site. The primary vehicle access point is actually from the west, off of the New West Road. This New West Road will actually be a controlled intersection on River Road and on Elmridge Way. And in the middle of the block, there's our ramp entrance. This is our primary entrance for all residents and hotel guests. There is a second entrance here off the lane, which is a secondary entrance only for hotel employees and maybe some limited commercial access. I won't go through the schedule, but there's already been a significant amount of work done with the community. We've had a number of meetings to deal with traffic flow and access and how traffic, how we mitigate traffic impact to our neighbors, especially the Aura project. So one of the strategies we're using is to maintain an open gate access off of the New West Road, which is primarily almost a 24-hour access. And then off the lane, we actually want to limit access with the use of a fob system. And there'll be extensive signage and wayfinding systems. So any folks that may want to try to find access to the parking system will be directed around the site to the New West Road and into the primary entrance. So we're really trying to limit any additional traffic to this lane system by making sure we have proper wayfinding and traffic flow direction to the New West Road and into the main entrance off New West Road. In a little more detail, the New West Road access is here in the mid-block on the west face at grade. The parking entrance coming in, looping around, there's a primary hotel drop-off zone at the P1 level here, right next to the hotel core. You can sort of see in these smaller images what that drop zone looks like. There are also interior drop-off areas inside the P1 area for residential parking, and there's also some visitor parking allocated stalls at the P1 level for residential visitors and short-term drop-off, Amazon, that kind of stuff, all is anticipated to happen inside this parking system. We're not encouraging nor expecting any deliveries or drop-off to happen on the lane at all. There is a loading area. It's 5 loading bays that include a bus, a small bus loading space for the hotel. So if if there are hotel guests arriving by shuttle, there is the possibility of coming in and having an off-street parking space. And shuttle guests that arrive by hotel shuttle can arrive actually directly through the loading area and into the lobby. All of the garbage pickup and drop off is also happening inside this loading area right here. So there's no off-street garbage pickup or drop off. There's some extensive measures to reduce car trips and car ownership, including carpooling, end of trip facilities for bicycles, EV bicycle outlets, and bicycle maintenance, all on site. In terms of sustainability, we've already mentioned that we're meeting all the step code requirements and hooking up to the district energy system. There's an extensive landscape program which PFS is going to take us through. So very quickly, in terms of some of our sustainable building strategies, we have a high performance building envelope, which includes high thermal performance. We're looking at reducing glazing and the window to wall ratio wherever possible. Efficient HVAC systems. There's an extensive rainwater management system on site. A lot of landscaping, which we'll go through in a minute, if I can get through this quickly. In terms of accessibility, there's a extensive kind of system of pathways and routing on site. As we mentioned, all four corners provide the primary entrance routes with elevator access. There's some ramping on the south end of the site, which addresses the grade condition along Elmridge Way. So there's actually two kind of accessible ramps here at each corner. On the north end of the site, it's basically almost level with grade, so we can deal with the accessible grading conditions by just sloping the sidewalks. And there is a ramp condition also along the New West Road, but the primary grade differential is actually on Elmridge Way, which you probably noticed on some of the renderings. There's some stairs here, and so the access points for disabled or mobility reduced individuals are on each corner of the site. There's also an extensive trail network up on the podium level, which PFS will take us through, but so in terms of amenity, we meet or exceed the outdoor amenity requirements significantly and meet the indoor area requirements. There are actually two amenity zones inside at the level 6 of at the podium level on the hotel side of the program. This whole shaded area here is the amenity area. It's accessible through this elevator bank at the northeast or southeast corner of the site, and also through the trail network at the rooftop. There's also very large outdoor areas, shared pool facility at the south end of the site, and all of this yellow area is exclusively zoned for residential use only at level 6. And then again, there's a children's area at level 9. In terms of materials, we are trying to very much keep things quite simple. It's a concrete structure with a kind of a hybrid concrete and glass upstand for the banding expression, which is quite similar to Cascade City. The one thing we have done is we've really reduced the amount of banding and have reduced the amount of deck area, so it's not a continuous deck anymore. We've tried to be a bit more precise about locating decks and reducing the amount of perimeter slab edge. But nonetheless, we still are able to express some of the slab edges, particularly at the north edges of the tower with these upstands. And then there's a kind of a frame expression in the podium areas. The glazing is a high performance window wall for the residential and podium areas, and then curtain wall for the hotel portion, which is this elevation here. There is anticipated to be some fritting at the spandrel zones. We can kind of get an idea of what that looks like with this bottom left corner here, an example of fritting. This is the treatment for the hotel tower. I think at this point I will turn it over to PFS on the landscape.
Thanks, Arno, and good afternoon, panel. I think Arno has given you a really good description of the kind of the way that the ground plane is laid out, but I'll add a couple of additional kind of details to this. You can see the relationship between the oval kind of ground plane and the kind of carpet, if you will, under our development. And that's, very deliberate, that there's that kind of banding comes across the street and then is expressed for this project. You'll see for the most part, our bands are a bit wider and a little bit richer. I think it's suitable to the scale of the smaller scale retail that's all at the frontages. Along those bands, we've introduced the kind of the most greenery that we could, kind of finding the right balance between activatable kind of storefronts, cafe spill out, and as much green as we could kind of wedge in there. So there was a good balance between those two. The streetscapes on all sides of the project, with the exception of the lane, have had the maximum number of street trees that we could fit in. In fact, we've added a couple more in response to some DP comments. And everywhere possible, we've added additional trees in the planters behind them, so the richest kind of streetscapes that we could convey. And so that the kind of expression or the experience of all this interior spaces as they kind of move out is that they're often framed by planting and seating on either side. So there's a whole series of kind of small rooms that contribute to that kind of pattern of larger corner plazas and small kind of urban spaces that wrap the whole project. I think you can go, then a couple of images here just to talk about our attitudes of materiality, kind of richness in texture, simple urban materials, pops of color to give this a little bit of life and flavor, but really relying on the activity of the retail and the comings and goings of people from the project to provide the real life to the project. The landscape is really allowing us to kind of flow off, make those transitions between grades as well. So, for example, on Elmbridge, where we've got a little bit more depth or a little more height between the flood protection level and the main retail level and the street level, the green also helps kind of flow down those stairs and kind of keep strong visual connection between the retail and the streetscapes. And then moving up to the podium, the landscape responds to the same metaphors of the river landscape that the architecture does. The kind of rippling kind of pattern is followed through in layers of landscape and pathways. The plantings will be those, I think, that are closely associated with the river foreshore. Plants that connote kind of river frontage, small and medium sized trees, layered plantings, lots of things that kind of suggest that it's wet, reeds and grasses and that sort of stuff, that it's kind of long and low, richly textured, and providing kind of a maximum amount of kind of view across the landscape. As you notice from the zoning diagram in terms of the hotel and the residential amenity, although those are separated by this kind of dry stone river course, the intention is that the landscape, it provides kind of visual access across the whole thing. There's lots of borrowed landscape here to help that landscape feel quite spacious and allow people the kind of enjoyment of wandering through that landscape. There's some small outdoor amenity spaces kind of at the north and south ends, providing little decks that have great overlook to the street below and kind of providing the destinations kind of north to south as you wander through that. The pool deck kind of sits within that. It's kind of its own kind of realm, still visible from all sides, but as you know, it'll have some additional the protection fencing around it, security fencing around it as required. And then on the very outboard sides, again, the idea of borrowed landscape beyond either the hotel rooms or the private patios. So the private patios have the advantage of a kind of small protected space adjacent to the units, and then they look out into that larger landscape as well. Then moving up into the plan, a couple of images here. Again, about that idea about color and texture, things that really want to look natural and kind of river appropriate. They want to connote the fact that we're on the riverfront in Richmond. Dry laid stone details, concrete pavers, and as much layering of green that we can accomplish in here. The Level 8 plan has a terrace on the south end of the building. This is associated with the flexible kind of retail space. It's kind of an urban seatable plaza around the elevator overruns and access stairs, but it's surrounded by kind of a rich context of greenery. And then moving up the building, the main residential levels or hotel amenity on the east side is the upper image, a couple of private terraces, and then again kind of green roof, greening up the top of the building. And on the west tower is the principal children's play space with a connected path off of the joining path between the two tower portions of that. And then on the rooftop, just a series of patios that have stair access and little planks of green. So you're kind of sitting in this kind of tiled meadow on the top of the building. So again, with the idea that the landscape wants to convey that same idea of the ripples of the river and the river foreshore. And a few additional images here, just in terms of color and texture. Still, again, building upon that kind of natural palette with some pops of color.
Just to finish up, these are some shadow studies that were completed to sort of show the attempt to really reduce the impact to the Oval Plaza here. These are fall and summer views up above. Spring and winter. And that concludes our presentation. Happy to go through details and questions if you like.
Thank you very much for your detailed presentation. Ms. Smith, any comments from staff?
To the chair, this application has a servicing agreement associated with the site, which includes frontage works on all three road frontages along River Road and Elmbridge Way to upgrade the frontage condition to align with similar frontage works undertaken as part of redevelopment projects to the east of the site. A new road introduced along the western edge of the subject site that will connect Elmbridge Way and River Road. Lane widening works will also be completed to widen the existing drive aisle from 6 meters to 7.5 meters and add a concrete apron or transition area between the building and the lane drive aisle. Provision of 52 parking stalls that are allocated to and available for use by the Richmond Olympic Oval during special events and available to the public at other times. These parking stalls are located in a consolidated area off the parkade. An interim asphalt pathway will be implemented along the south side of River Road, connecting the subject site to Oval Way, providing another pedestrian route to access the Richmond Olympic Oval facility. In terms of other TDM measures that are transportation demand management measures for the site, They include a transit pass program, additional bike amenities as outlined by the applicant, dedicated carpool spaces, of which there are 5, car share program to facilitate 2 vehicle spaces, and EV charging as well, in terms of sustainability, compliance with step code, energy step code, and connection to the city's city center district energy utility for space and heating and cooling via an on-site low-carbon energy system. In terms of trees, 6 trees on site were identified for removal at the time of rezoning. The applicant plans to plant a total of 83 trees on site, which is in excess of what is required. I will note there were 2 variances associated with the site, reducing a minimum setback to 1 road frontage from 3 meters to 0.25 meters to permit the projection of a small portion of the podium of the building and balconies on levels 3 to 6 to project into the setback. There's no impact to the pedestrian streetscape at grade, and this enables the corner units to achieve adequate outdoor amenity space. The second is to not require 1 large size on-site loading space, instead requiring a minimum size, which is more appropriate for the development. And finally, public art contribution in the amount of approximately $330,000, which would require a public art plan to be presented to council for approval prior to the issuance of a building permit. That concludes staff comments.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any questions from the panel? Mrs. Shem?
Thank you. Through the chair, a couple of comments. One is I wish that we had a model because the drawings are quite complex. And although I appreciate the concept of having the boomerang shape, I do wonder if how much of it, when you look across the site from the adjacent buildings, is really seeing a whole building basically front to back. Having said that, I think it's an interesting design. And part of it is being such a cohesive design, especially on the street level. I wonder if there's a comprehensive sign package that has been contemplated, because, you know, one of the things, if you have lots of small businesses, which we would highly encourage, if you come in with a sign one by one, it would really mess up how your frontage looked like. So some comments from either staff or the applicant would be great. And secondly, on the lane, I understand you're minimizing your entrances in there in order to minimize conflict with the adjacent building, the Aura building. If somebody could point out to me where the access to the parquet from the Aura building is, just so that I can have a little bit more understanding. And the final question is, I heard about the TDM measures, but is there construction traffic management plan in place? Because I imagine this is a highly traveled area, and that would be one of the concerns that the public will have. Thank you.
Arno, perhaps you could address the majority of those questions, and you could address the
Sure, I'll try. So in terms of model, we do have a digital model. I believe that was presented to the design panel. We could make that available. In terms of the signage, there will be a comprehensive signage strategy that will be developed and implemented for this site. We've only just sort of highlighted some of the areas of concern, including wayfinding around the perimeter, but there will be a comprehensive signage approach, including CRU, hotel, wayfinding, etc., all around the perimeter of the site that will be developed as the project goes through to completion of the development permit and into building permit. On the access to Aura, let me see if I can find. Yeah, this probably so Aura actually has 2 access points. They have an above grade and a below grade parking system, both of which access the lane. I believe the above grade ramp is right in this location right here. So if you can see, this zone here is the loading
Arno,
zone.
If you could share your screen.
Sorry, let me reshare. My apologies. Yeah. Can everyone see the screen? Yes. Okay. The above grade ramp for Aura is accessed in this area here. Can everyone see the cursor? It's sort of at the more northern end of the lane, and then there's a below grade access, which I believe is just one level below grade, is actually right in this zone here, and it's we've aligned our secondary entrance directly across from the below grade access ramp for a reason. I think our traffic consultant can explain in more detail, but it has to do with safety and visibility, so that if cars are coming out of this, they can see and have a visual line into the traffic here that may be coming out of this ramp. We do not anticipate any or very little or none exiting through this way, but if there is, there's this alignment is important. There is another kind of critical alignment piece which has to do with the loading area, which is quite a busy zone currently, we understand, which is sort of right in this area here. So we've purposely tried to push our loading down as far as we can and sort of out of the way of the Aura loading area, if that helps.
Thank you. In terms of construction parking management, yes, should this proceed to a building permit, there will be a requirement for a comprehensive construction parking management plan prior to issuance of the building permit. Marie, any questions from yourself?
Yes, through the chair, I'm just wondering if you can speak a little bit to the public art plan for the site. It's part of the Oval Precinct, which has a very robust public art program.
So the owner has engaged the public art consultant, and they're going through the process of shortlisting and selecting artists. I think there's a budget that's been established and a report that's been put together as a part of the rezoning and development permit requirements. No, well, we haven't selected any locations per se for the art. We've sort of left it a little bit up to the interpretation of the art consultant and artists coming forward. So we're not exactly sure where the art is going to land, although you could imagine that maybe these kind of corners of the plaza areas may be potential locations where public art can land, and it may be one or several pieces. We don't know yet at this point, but we do anticipate some exciting artwork landing on this site.
Okay, thank you. And just one other question, given the proximity to the airport, what kind of measures are in place for sound mitigation?
I think all of
We lost you. Ironic on the sound mitigation question. I think I jinxed it by asking about sound mitigation, maybe.
There we go.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I've been speaking of sound. So we meet all the City of Richmond requirements for sound transmission for livability of units. Obviously, landscaping and all those other things that get layered in help, but we have glazing and insulation requirements that will meet the City of Richmond sound transmission standards.
Thank you.
Thanks. Just a few questions myself. Jeffrey, I guess for you to start, in terms of the green roof on the 9th floor of the hotel, is that an intensive green roof, no public access?
Yes, that's right. So any of the portions that don't have, kind of paving and seating associated with them are extensive green roofs. A lot of the green roofs have kind of both components. There'll be an intensive kind of central portion with an extensive extension, I guess you'd say.
Thank you. In terms of the pavement treatment at grade, I do appreciate the interest and the intention of the banding. I'm wondering, in terms of the contrast between the colors, has there been consideration of the potential impact on the visually impaired?
Not specifically, but yeah, we'll certainly take that into account, that we've got, especially connecting the kind of public walkways to the doorways. I mean, that's the kind of key one to address. On the River Road side, it's all pretty straightforward because we were actually fairly close to grade. In most cases, we're sloping directly from the sidewalk to the entry, and then we can make sure that we've got a clear line of travel and the right kind of contrast there. A little bit more complex on the Elmbridge side because we've got more grade differential and the access to that terrace is from the corners and the ramps. But we can certainly we'll review that specifically to make sure that we've got kind of simple lines of travel to all those entries.
Thank you. I'd appreciate if that is done prior to this advancing to council for their consideration should you get successful endorsement today. And Arno, perhaps if you could just speak to the experience in terms of access from the parkade to the street fronting retail. What are the paths of movement?
So there's a couple of ways to access the street front. So when you enter P1 at grade, there are the entire floor is actually dedicated at P1 to commercial parking. There is the possibility of finding your way from your parking stall out through pedestrian circulation zone along the ramp and out to the New West Road and then circulating. I thought it was. Oh, okay. Sorry. So the main entrance point here to P1 through the New West Road to get to the P1, which is a significant amount of the commercial parking. You can actually find your way back out through a walkway and then around the perimeter of the site without having to get into an elevator system. There are other ways of accessing lobbies once you get up into the upper levels of the parking system, but we're hoping that for the most part folks that are coming in and doing some quick shopping can actually just access these spaces here that are immediately available at relatively close to grade at the P1 level and just find their way out along the New West Road and then along the perimeter of the site.
And is the P1 level where the event parking for the Oval would be located as well?
Some of the parking is located at that level, and then there's another portion of it that is located on a sort of a half level or full level up to P2. So those event parking stalls will also typically be accessed through this main entrance area off of the New West Road.
Thank you. Any further questions from the panel? Mr. Clerk, any letters or correspondence?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have one letter received for this item.
Is somebody able to read that into the record?
Through the chair, an email was received from a resident identifying they have no concerns or comments on the proposal.
Thank you. Any members of the public wishing to speak to us on this item today? Seeing none, I will ask for panel deliberation.
Thank you. I think this is a good project for this site, and it will complement the oval quite nicely and liven the adjacent area. So hopefully, this is not one of those projects that the landscaping ultimately suffers because it's a complex and that adds to the design quite a lot. But oftentimes, when the project is towards the end, some of the landscaping elements are eliminated or minimized. So hopefully, this will not be a case because I think that adds a lot to it. Thank you.
No further comments.
All right, I just I agree with the comments made to date. I think this is a well thought out and carefully designed project. I think it would be a definite asset to the area. With that, anybody want to move the staff recommendation?
Second.
All right, I'll call the question on the staff recommendation. That is approved. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. Thanks indeed.
The next item on the agenda is development permit number 22008932. The applicant is Kenneth King. The property location is 6500 Cooney Road. The recommendation from staff is that a development permit be issued, which would permit the construction of a 6-unit townhouse complex over a common parking structure at 6500 Cooney on a site zoned parking structure townhousing ZT 93 Brighouse City Center. Kenneth?
Hello. My name is Kevin Liao from Kenneth King Architecture. Kenneth cannot attend the meeting today because he was waiting for surgery for over half a year. This Monday, it happened, he was informed that the surgery time will be coincidentally overlapping with the panel meeting, and therefore I will present this project. To begin with, this project is located at a vacant land at the intersection of Cooney Road and Cook Road. And so it is at the city center area. And 1 block to the west is the Richmond Center Shopping Mall. And 1 block to the southeast is the Garden City Community Park. So around this intersection, most of the surrounding project is a 3-story townhouse project. And there is a few single-family houses. And this project itself is a 6 units, 4-story townhouse with 1 level of parking and 3 level of residential units. I hope to introduce the background of this project before it goes to the design, because this project was designed by another architect before. The previous development is dated from 2008 to 2018, and it was a complete design package with building design already done, and Kenneth King Architecture brought this project to the final public hearing. This is the old design. That old design has a parking entrance on the north of the building, and that design actually required the north neighbor to share shared access. And this right-of-way was in their covenant during their development and was planned by the city. However, in the public hearing, the north neighbor request to not follow the covenant and not share this right-of-way. As a result, this old design was rejected. So after that, we worked with the city to come up with a new design. The new design will have very similar overall massing and character, but the parking is totally new, and we also bring the new design to meet the new code and zoning and energy requirements. So start with the site plan. We have Cook Cooney Road on the west, Cook Road on the south, and a lane on the east side. So most of the project common space is facing Cooney Road. It includes a children play area, a common exit staircase, and some outdoor amenity space, PMT, and Class B bike parking. Facing Cook Road is the frontage most unit front entrance and their front raised patio. And this project will eventually get a Cook Road address because most unit is facing Cook Road. The parking is accessed from the lane from the west. So we have 10 parking spots. And from the parking, each unit also has a direct access from the parkade. And all the common facilities is wheelchair accessible. So those common amenity space and a mailbox at the corner, and there is at least 1.5 meter wide accessible path for to access all these facilities. In addition, we also have unit number 1 as an adaptable unit. This unit featured a shaft to accommodate an elevator in the future for this unit. So goes to the elevation. So firstly, although this project is a 4-story building, it is 12.5 meters. The zoning actually allows to 15 meters tall. We are much less than the zoning requirement, and we are lower this building to kind of match the neighboring 3-story buildings. In terms of the cladding, this project mainly uses non-combustible sidings and the stuccos. So on the elevation drawing, the orange and the beige warmer colors area are mostly siding materials, and the blue and gray areas are stuccos. And we pick these material and the colors with the context in mind. And so this is a rendering of this project in the context. And the nearby buildings and their colors are actually modeled fairly accurately. So that's how this project will blend into the context. Another design feature of this project is it has quite different type of private patio space for each unit. They have front patios, raised front patios. They have a roof patio. They also have another patio at the rear side of second floor, and also Juliet balcony at second floor. So these patios also have a lot of planters because this site will require to have 20% of planting area. So these planters is working to provide the planting area for this project. Another design feature of this project is its unique roof design. It has a single pitch slope roof with a lot of overhangs on its elevation. These overhangs provide functional weather protection to the cladding and also all the doors and entrances. So this rendering is a view from Cooney Road. Again, you can have an idea of how this massing and color and material blend well with the neighboring project. At the same time, its unique roof design separate this project from other developments. So this is another angle for looking at the road intersection. The next rendering is the front elevation facing Cook Road. And this is a view from the lane where you can see how the cars access the garage. This garage is completely open and doesn't have a gate. And the last view is from the north side, and which shows the rear patio at the second floor. It still is good size patios. I will ask our landscape architect Fred Liu to continue the rest of the presentation.
Hello, this is Fred Liu, landscape architect. Since Kevin is the one using showing the screen, I can just say whatever I can from my end. This project here, you can see there are two major large trees. The city has asked us to save them, whatever it takes. And you see the one to the southeast corner is a elm tree about 1.15 meter in diameter, quite a large one. So we have done quite a bit of work here with the paving. It will be a special paving, and the arborists will be on site to do supervision when they are working on it. Another one is further to the toward the Cooney Road. That is a 0.5 meter diameter elm tree as well, which we are also saving it. You can see the building, the landscape had to be kicked back a bit to allow for the minimize the damage to the root system. And in addition to that, we are asked to have a few replacement trees. In this case, there are 4 coniferous trees, which is shore pine, that we need to plant. There are 2 you can see along the north property line right there. There are 2 at the front here along Cook Road. In the middle of between the 2 pine tree, there is a garbage recycling bin staging area on the pickup day. And the plant material that we're using here basically either coniferous evergreen or broadleaf evergreen. So you see the foliage throughout the year. And the narrow, you can see there are 2 T-shaped planted right there. You can see in between the patios, we use the coniferous shrub hedging plant. In this case, is yew, to provide better privacy. And between the patio and the road, you see the planting sort of layering. We have a planter raised up, and with the first layer next to the walkway is on street level. So it gives you the layering effect. There are 4 steps different between the sidewalk and the patio. You can see we try to provide as much planting as possible, given the limited space to do landscaping. At the street corner there, you can see there's 1 PMT unit right there, which will give a little bit of a screening from the sidewalk direction, and also we allow a bicycle parking pad to park 2 bicycles. For those residents, bicycle storage is inside the parking, in that level inside the building. Along the Cooney Road side, there is a children play area that we were asked to provide. So with the limited space we have here, we can only provide a playhouse, a small playhouse to fit into it. You can see this rendering here. And also a couple of natural logs that's placed in combination, whatever we can fit into it. In addition to that, the flooring, we would try to use those rubbery tile in a different color, like in the flowing form, so that to give the added interest to the play area. to the west of this play area, we provide a hatching plant as well, so to sort of provide a physical barrier to keep the children from walking onto the sidewalk. And as for the limited amenity area, Kevin, you can go back. Yeah. All right. You can see there are two magnolia tree we provided there. So in between the two magnolia tree, there is a bench right there for people like parents to supervise the kids when they're using the play area. Now, as for the street tree, we originally proposed two on either one of the streets, but then at the last revision, we were asked to put in only one tree. So you can see between the two large elm trees that we have located one tree. In this case, this is what we call it the Japanese Stewardia. Japanese Stewardia. Which is a flowering plant, street trees, quite manageable, very clean, easy to maintain. The other one along the Cooney Road, you can see also we put it right smack in the middle of the grass area. The sidewalk along Cooney Road is about 2 meters wide, and along the Cook Road is 2.2 meters wide. And then we have a grass boulevard as a buffering zone between the sidewalk and the street. That's along the north side of the building. We have proposed some vine that can climb on the fence, so to give it a little bit of a softening effect. So that's basically is what we're proposing on this development. And hopefully that would be acceptable. So if there's any question, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Ms. Smith, any staff comments?
Yes, through the chair. There is a servicing agreement associated with this site for utility upgrades and frontage improvements. This includes frontage improvements along both Cooney and Cook frontages, including a 2-meter sidewalk along Cooney, with a 3.3-meter grass as well as a treed boulevard, which will allow for widening of Cooney Road with a bike path in the future. Along Cook Road, there will be a smaller grass boulevard and a 2.18-meter sidewalk. At the lane, there will be a 6-meter wide north-south oriented rear lane along the east property line, which was secured at rezoning and which will be widened in the future through development to the east and will eventually connect to the north to Spires Gate Road. Intersection improvements include traffic signal design and replacement at the northeast corner of the intersection, new audible pedestrian signals and LED streetlights, conduit, and new curb ramps with tactile strips. Aging in place features are also incorporated to accommodate mobility constraints associated with aging, such as levered door handles. Additionally, the proposed development includes one convertible unit, Unit 1, designed with the potential to be easily renovated to accommodate a future resident in a wheelchair. Sustainability, the development is to comply with Step 3 of the Energy Step Code, and all 10 parking spaces will be provided with Level 2 charging capability. In terms of trees, the original rezoning staff report identified 3 on-site trees for removal. 6 replacement trees are proposed to be planted on the site in keeping with the city's requirements. I will note at the rezoning stage, the applicant had proposed to plant 10 trees total, which is 4 additional beyond what is required. However, as part of the development permit review and the site constraints, they were unable to accommodate those additional 4 trees due to utilities that were required to be provided on site. As a result, the 4 of the 10 trees will be provided via cash in lieu to the city's tree compensation fund. And 2 city trees, significant effort was made to retain those in the frontage and sidewalk, and the designs for those connection elements have been adjusted accordingly. That concludes the staff comments.
Thank you. Any questions from the panel? Cecilia?
Thank you, Chair. First, I would like to say I really appreciate the convertible unit with the full accommodation for actually a lift rather than just through a closet or something. So I think if somebody really wanted to convert this unit, it would be a very suitable unit despite the fact it's 4 stories tall. Secondly, is a consideration item. I did hear the architect saying that there will be no gate to come into the parquet, but for safety and security reasons, because it's right now dead-end lane, and I would strongly recommend considering having a gate into the parquet for security of the vehicles and access into the units. And the last question is, I know this is only a 6-unit development, but is there a requirement for traffic management during construction? Because this area has seen a lot of construction, and the neighbors are definitely have been long and suffering for traffic reasons. So maybe staff could comment on that.
Yeah, I can take the traffic management. Yes, similar to the previous project, there will be a comprehensive construction, parking, and traffic management plan required as a condition of the building permit should this application proceed to a building permit. Kevin, perhaps you could address the other question in response to the parkade gating, and also with that, speak to any additional crime prevention through environmental design considerations that were considered for that parkade.
Okay, may I still also share my screen? So the current design doesn't have a gate. It was the direct reason of that is it was a city comment, traffic comment, a transportation comment. It was it was. For example, the earliest quote of that comment is here in the email. He said, "No parking gate is permitted at the parking entry." So that's why we didn't have a parking entry at the beginning. If the committee strongly recommend to have a gate, it's technically also possible to have the gate. I can tell, the only difficulty that the opening is 32 foot wide by 8 foot tall. So it's technically possible if we can find a gate that is that wide. The reason that becomes that wide is because the previous parking design was rejected when we developed a new parking directly from the link from the west. It is not easy task. So we did a lot of traffic study to ensure the car move smoothly. And so you can see some of the traffic wheel path that it actually required this opening to be so big to enable them to move smoothly. In regarding to the crime prevention method, so this parking is not very big. It is totally fully open on the north side, and except there's a fence separating it from the neighbor, and they also mostly open on the east side. So the visibility is pretty good, and you can see once it's fully parked with cars, there's not much area that is to left with. This area will be, and we will have bright parking, bright paint. It will be a bright paint parking and with adequate lightings. I think that's mostly it. Overall is I just briefly explain why we don't have a gate, but I think it is possible to have a gate. Just if we have to add one.
Thank you for that. I guess direction to staff if accessing or the gating of that parkade could be looked at in detail before this is to proceed to council, should it proceed through today. Marie, any questions of yourself?
Yes, just I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to design considerations to protect the privacy of the townhouse developments adjacent to this site.
You mean the north or the east?
Yeah, both.
Okay. First, to begin with, maybe we can look at the renderings. The west development, we are separating by a lane, and they also have an existing fence along the east side of the lane, and so the distance would be pretty adequate to, and they also have another lane on their side. So we have a lane and fence and another lane, almost a drive aisle on their side. So I wouldn't think there's too much privacy issue, and we don't have much window facing that way, and yeah, it's just very little windows. So probably that is not a problem. For this north neighbor, again, we are lowering our building quite a bit, so there's no, we are basically about the same height as their development, so at least we don't have something they can too much look over to their buildings. On the other side, so maybe at this rendering, so we have we have about 5-foot fence separating the two projects. And actually their project, yeah, so I will say, yeah, I think that's just, I think that's all we have done so far. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, any letters from the public?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Any members of the public here to speak to us today? Seeing none, we do have a positive staff recommendation. Is anybody willing to move that recommendation? All right, we do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? All right, thank you very much. Your project has been endorsed by the panel. If you could work with staff on the crime prevention measures for the parkade and the potential gating of that parkade prior to this advancing to council.
That's very much.
All right, moving on to our last item on today's agenda. We do have development permit number 23034-544. The applicant is Muskeen Hamilton Properties Corporation. The property location is 4651, 4671, 4691 Smith Crescent, and 23301, 23321, 23361, and 23381 Gilly Road. The purpose of the development permit is to permit the construction of a mixed-use mid-rise development comprising of commercial space, city-owned amenity space, and 186 residential units, including 19 low-end-of-market rental units at the above noted addresses on a site zoned residential limited commercial ZMU 53, Neighborhood Village Center, Hamilton. The applicant may start their presentation.
Good evening. My name is Sam Chan from Ionic Architecture. My colleague Sammy Lee, developer Jake and Grant from Muskeen Development. Happy to present this project at such a prime corner. It's basically a continuation of the adjacent development as shown on the plan as parcel 2 and 3. We have 186 units, 5-story on Gilly Road and 4 at the back near Gallopy. Basically, it just create an urban street wall at the corner, this fine corner. By completion of this project, we will see a few benefits. First of all, the highlight is the High Street Plaza that we have. That's connected to the strollway. There are landscaping, and there are sitting area, and the way that it works is that when it's developed, it will go north, and then being with the connectivity with Gallopy, it forms an interior network. Gallopy will go all the way to Westminster Highway. A little further east to the High Street Plaza, we have to the contribution to the community is our CPO, Community Police Office, that the developer is making a turnkey contribution with 2 parking space and all the improvement inside the tenant improvement units there. In total we have 8,000 square feet of commercial area. As you can see from the plan, that is a continuation of this existing development, which also has the similar arrangement with commercial out front. So it's a continuation with a couple of canopy, rain protection, all the way to the corner there. Another thing that we're going to talk about is all the visitor parking is on the courtyard with 34 parking space. It's shared with the commercial. It's accessible. It's every grade is from 4% to 5%. It's very easily accessible to all area. When we look at the interior of the courtyard, the amenity building is our focal point. As parking is laid out on one side to be more economical, the rest of the area are all landscaping. It's amenity area. This amenity building is 2-story with the green roof on top. It's all accessible with an elevator inside. 2 stories. So 2 stories. Yeah, about 2 stories. So it's accessible. What do we have now? Well, a little further down to the east, very generous setback, this 20-foot setback from Smith Crescent, and to mitigate the underground parking wall, the landscaping are done with 2 tiers. So you can see there are pedestrian walkway, bike path, and all the way, it's pretty flat on Smith Crescent there, going north. We have an interesting corner there, which will show, or Ben, our landscape architect, will show the details. And Gallopy just go all the way to the west and come into our development from the rear. Now, basically, those are the highlight of this project. And as I wanted to make it brief, I'll get Ben to talk about the landscaping, PMG landscape architect.
Great. Thanks, Sam. And hello, panel. I'm Ben with PMG Landscape Architects. I'm a landscape consultant on this project. I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but I'll start with the landscape design around the site perimeter. Just kind of piggybacking on what Sam had described along here, we're integrating some slope grades and tiered retaining walls. I'll zoom in a little bit along this edge, Smith Crescent, and again, employing the same strategy along Garapi here to provide some vertical vegetation and screening to cover up the parkade structure. And then along Gilly Road, we're employing the same type of strategy here. We've got a vertical soft landscape screening here to hide the front face of the tapered retaining wall here that leads up to the commercial area. Our on-site landscape, I'll just zoom out so you have a better picture here. On-site landscape includes a large central amenity area with multiple uses for residents. We've got, open lawn and some turf areas for flex play. We've got a kids playground here. We've got some opportunities for group seating and opportunities for lounging and gatherings. And all of this is designed to integrate with use for the main feature here, the focal point of the central courtyard, which is the amenity building. It was mentioned before that the amenity building's got a green roof. We've also provided, let's jump to a different drawing here. Might be a little bit tough to see, but we've also provided a schematic layout for some landscape lighting, which is essentially lit bollards throughout the podium level here that provides a little bit of enhanced security and wayfinding throughout the podium as well. And then as far as the site perimeter, Gilly Road, Smith Crescent, and Garapi are all lit with street lighting as well. I'll just jump back to here. Again, in addition to all of our soft landscape here throughout the podium, we're also proposing some permeable paving at the visitor parking stalls to assist with stormwater mitigation. And then to the west here, we've got an active strollway and plaza area that helps to draw pedestrians through the southwest corner along the strollway, and also allows for interaction within the site throughout. And then for our offsite landscape, front and Gilly Road, this includes the continuation of the High Street design of Gilly Road, and it's a mix of street trees and paving and furnishings that will match and interact with the adjacent existing landscape and streetscape as well. So in a nutshell, that's about it for landscape. So we can open it up to the panel for any questions.
Before going to the question, I will just wrap up the presentation with a very short video. It's less than 2 minutes, 1 minute and 40 seconds. That will explain all the landscaping area, the exterior material finishes, all of that. So we'll just run it now. The location, the site location. And we start from the Galavier Road. So as you see, can you stop here? As you see, all the commercial units, it's like close to the street, and then the residential set back about 15 feet away from the street at the Galavier Road. And then we have the corner going around the building, And then we have the main entrance for the lower level, to the parkade. We have elevator for accessibility going all the way up, and we have another elevator to the commercial area for accessibility plus the stair from the corner. And then also at the Gilly Road, at the west side, we have an accessibility. It's all level going to the commercial unit with a nice glazing canopy above for weather protection. And then now we're showing the landscape area around Smith Crescent. All this 2 tiers of landscaping, and then like all the treatment for the parkade. Can you go back there? Yeah, all the treatment for the parkade foundation wall, so you don't see any foundation wall because it's the level here is about 2.7 meter from the street up to the first floor. And then you go around. So that's the nice corner of the landscape architect. Now we're going inside the courtyard, very spacious courtyard, and then it will help the existing property to the west. It will open up the area, and then it will be almost sunny because this area will be nice and then like it's because of the big and then going into more detail to the commercial unit. So that's a commercial unit at Gilly Road. Yeah, this one, all this commercial units in front with some treatment to the wall when the street go down, slope down a bit. So all shrubs and landscaping area. And then in terms of material we use, we have used the different textures and colors of the stone, hardy panels, vertical siding, and the fast plank system with the aluminum siding with the warm color. So this is the warm color is the accent, plus the metal panel on top of the roof. All these metal panels on the top. So to address the corner and to make the look of the building in the corner better. So again, it's just quickly, it's almost, just looking at the material and the finishes and the landscaping area. We have another stair here going to the courtyard. And then this is the other building on the north side. More detail to the patio above the commercial unit and the setback. So each unit have a nice patio of the commercial unit and the material we use. So different like color, different texture of the material, and then make it interesting looking for that vision. And that should be done for that video. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Mr. Reese, any staff comments?
Thank you, and through the chair, a couple of comments if I may. The development is required to provide a city-owned 1,429 square foot community policing office to a turnkey level of finish. The development includes 19 low-end market units as well, which is consistent with the city's affordable housing strategy, 17 of which are 2 and 3 bedroom units. The publicly accessible areas include the expansion of the public plaza and the north-south strollway along the west property line. There is a comprehensive servicing agreement required prior to adoption of the associated rezoning for the design and construction of the extension of Garapi, the widening of the public plaza, as well as the north-south strollway and servicing utility connections and other frontage improvements. There's also a cash in lieu contribution towards the Hamilton pump station. There is also a TDM program associated with this development, including a transit pass program, e-bike and e-scooter storage, and bicycle maintenance facility. Picking up on the panel's earlier comments respecting transportation demand or traffic and construction management plans, staff have spoken with the applicant who have committed to working with the adjacent properties, developers, and the school in terms of communicating their construction works and schedules.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. I think it is very important that there is detail put into that construction, parking, and traffic management plan, especially as it relates to the school and the community center. This area is experiencing a tremendous amount of construction, and that traffic needs to be managed carefully. In terms of panel questions, Cecilia?
Through the chair, thank you for the presentation. I am still a little bit confused on the amenity area insofar that you have publicly accessible parking on the same level. And so, and on the rendering and the fly-through, I can't quite tell the delineation of what's public publicly accessible and what is not. Can you guys maybe use one of your landscape plans and talk me through that?
Yep, I can share my landscape plan here. Sammy, if you want to talk through.
Yeah, sure. So the driveway coming from the Gary Pie Avenue north, going to the site, and then we have both sides parking area. So this is only the parking in the site, doesn't go more than that without going like another to the whatever this circle. So we have some accessible parking to the building on the front, building A, and then some accessible parking to building B. All this behind the parking, it's like for the amenity area, we have a building, 2-story, the amenity area with a green roof above. And then behind the building, all the landscaping for the play area, for the kids, for the landscaping area, for the project itself. Public will have the access to the strollway to the east, all the way up, but they will enjoy the view of the spacious courtyard.
Yes, so through the chair, so strollway is where the public can access and they can drive up to the parking on the podium level. And then there will be fences and whatnot so that they can see into the amenity space but not have access to that. Is that correct?
No, there is no fence. It's an open courtyard. So even it's an open for public again to enjoy the view while walking through the strollway.
So not just for walking, for pedestrian.
Yeah, for pedestrian, but no fence. We don't provide a fence here.
So they are publicly accessible to all of the amenity space? I'm thinking about it from a crime prevention perspective because you have.
For the outdoor area, yeah, they have access, but of course the enclosed building, amenity building itself, you don't have access to it.
Sorry, if you could please put the image back on the screen. The question being asked is, in terms of the courtyard, is there physical delineation to limit public access to the courtyard, which is intended for the residents? How will that be managed?
No, there is no a limit for public to access the play area in the back too. So there's no fence. It will be open except the amenity building.
Through the chair, we can work with the applicant to further clarify and further delineate those two spaces prior to advancing the project to council for issuance, if the project is endorsed by the panel.
Thank you. Any additional questions, Cecilia? Marie?
Yeah, I have a question. What's intended for inside the amenity building? What kind of amenities will be in there?
I can get the floor plan of the amenity building if you can share the screen again quickly. Yeah, our drones. And then go to the amenity floor plan. Choose the screen. Yeah, just won't be there before. Yeah, so this is the floor plan. Ground floor is activity room. We have an accessible washroom. Second floor is activity setting area. So it's an open concept plan for any activities will happen. And so we have washroom on the ground floor, accessible washroom on the second floor, plus access to the roof for the green roof area. And then we can look at the elevator going all the way to the ground floor and second floor, and accessible to both floors accessible. And then go to the next page that has the elevation to the amenity area. No, too just far. One. Yeah, too far. You go up. Yeah, one more down. This one. So that's the west elevation to the Stowaway, to the top right corner. And then we have the east elevation entrances. Some more glazing, open the glazing, and then the stone material, interesting finishing to the amenities. So it will look interesting to the people even walking in the Stowaway. Also bike room. Yeah, and then we have bike room, this area. Go back to the plan. Yeah, so this is the bike room.
Thank you.
Thanks. If you could please put the elevation on the screen. I'd like you to run through the building materials on the exterior and specifically speak to the commercial and the signage package intended for the commercial.
This is the commercial units. So most of the units are having a big frontage like glazing, and then with the finish of mix of the hardy panels and the aluminum panels on the top at the signage. So this material at the signage here, it's aluminum panels, the strips, and then have the warm color to each unit of the commercial.
And the residential portion of the building, if you could just detail the colors and materials.
Residential, we have two different color of the hardy. We have hardy vertical, hardy siding, this one. We have the hardy panel. It's the light gray one. And then we have the warm walnut color for the aluminum siding as a rich material for the finishes. All this brown color
is going to be a composite.
Yeah, it's an aluminum, but it looks like a wood from the finishes itself. And then this is the material we call it. It's we have the fast blank system aluminum siding with a warm color and looks like a wood stone. And then we have a stone all the way down on the bottom. So again, that's the main entrance or the stair going up to the commercial units.
And the colors and materials are consistent through both buildings. The only difference is the amenity building. Is that correct?
Correct. Amenity have their own style. Make it more interesting for people walking, more glazing, but it's that different. But both buildings are exactly the same material. We can get you another view of the building on the north side. So. Building B. So that's the view from Gary Park, the top one. So same zoom in a little bit. So same material, same finish.
Thank you. Mr. Reese, maybe if you could speak to this. In terms of the strollway, Garapi, are those being designed through the servicing agreement?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. The design of those will both, were secured as part of the rezoning requirements for the project. They are required to enter into the servicing agreement for the design and construction of those works prior to rezoning bylaw adoption.
All right, thank you. Any members of the public that wish to speak to us today? All right, not seeing any public correspondence.
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Any additional questions from the panel? All right, we do have a positive staff recommendation.
And I will second, considering to work with staff on clarifying the amenity space for SEPTAC purposes.
Yeah, staff will take that under advisement.
All right, with that direction, I'll call the question. Thank you very much. Your project's been endorsed. Please work with staff on the matters discussed and fulfilling the conditions. Any new business? The date of the next meeting is May 29th.
Correct.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?